During the early years of the Cold War, the world lived under constant tension. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a silent battle of espionage, intelligence gathering, and technological competition. But beyond nuclear weapons and spy satellites, intelligence agencies feared something even more unsettling: the possibility that enemies had discovered a way to control the human mind. Rumors circulated among American intelligence officials that communist regimes were experimenting with psychological manipulation. Stories from prisoners of war returning from Korea claimed that some soldiers had been subjected to strange interrogation techniques, brainwashing, and psychological conditioning. These reports terrified officials in Washington, who began to wonder whether a new kind of warfare had already begun. To investigate these fears, the Central Intelligence Agency launched one of the most secretive research programs in American history. The project would later become known as Project MKUltra. The program officially began in 1953 under CIA Director Allen Dulles. Its mission was simple in theory, but disturbing in practice: discover techniques that could manipulate human behavior, influence memory, and control thoughts. Scientists funded by MKUltra began experimenting with a wide range of psychological methods. Researchers explored hypnosis, sensory deprivation, electroshock therapy, psychological conditioning, and various drugs that could alter consciousness. Some experiments were conducted in laboratories, while others took place in hospitals, universities, and prisons. One substance quickly caught the attention of CIA researchers. It was a powerful psychedelic compound known as lysergic acid diethylamide. LSD had the ability to drastically alter perception and consciousness. Early reports suggested that even small doses could cause hallucinations, confusion, and intense emotional reactions. To CIA scientists, the drug seemed like a possible key to unlocking control over the human mind. The agency secretly purchased large quantities of LSD and began testing it on human subjects. In some cases, volunteers participated willingly, but in many other cases, people had no idea they were being experimented on. The experiments quickly became more extreme. Researchers wanted to know whether LSD could force someone to reveal secrets during interrogation. Others wondered if it could break down a person's identity and rebuild it with new beliefs or behaviors. These tests would soon expand far beyond laboratory environments. Over time, MKUltra would grow into a network of secret experiments conducted across North America, and many of the people involved would never know they were part of it. As the MKUltra program expanded, the CIA began funding research through universities, hospitals, and private laboratories across the United States and Canada. Often the institutions receiving the funding had no idea the money originated from the intelligence agency. The CIA frequently used front organizations to hide its involvement. The goal was to conduct as many different psychological experiments as possible while keeping the program completely hidden from the public. Researchers tested dozens of techniques that they believed might influence human behavior. Some subjects were placed in complete sensory deprivation, locked in silent rooms where they could see nothing and hear nothing for long periods of time. Others were exposed to repeated hypnosis sessions designed to alter memory and perception. But the most controversial experiments involved drugs. CIA scientists believed that chemical compounds could potentially weaken a person's mental defenses. If a subject became confused, disoriented, or emotionally unstable, interrogators might be able to extract information more easily. This theory led researchers to conduct extensive tests with lysergic acid diethylamide. In some cases, volunteers knowingly participated in these experiments, but in many other situations, the subjects had no idea they were being given mind-altering substances. Some individuals were secretly dosed with LSD during social situations, workplace meetings, or hospital visits. One of the strangest operations connected to MKUltra was a program known as Operation Midnight Climax. In this bizarre experiment, the CIA established safe houses in several cities, where individuals were unknowingly given drugs while agents secretly observed them. The safe houses were often disguised as apartments or lounges. Sometimes, individuals were lured there through social encounters arranged by CIA operatives. Once inside, the subjects would be secretly given drugs while agents monitored their behavior through one-way mirrors. The goal was to study how people reacted under the influence of powerful substances in real-world environments. However, the psychological effects of these experiments were unpredictable and often dangerous. Some subjects experienced severe anxiety, paranoia, and hallucinations. Others suffered long-term psychological damage after being exposed to powerful drugs without warning. Despite these risks, the experiments continued for years. The Cold War created an atmosphere of intense competition between superpowers. Intelligence agencies believed that if their enemies developed mind control techniques first, it could give them an enormous advantage. For many officials involved in the program, the potential strategic benefit seemed to justify almost any experiment. But the consequences of these secret tests would soon become impossible to ignore. One of the most tragic stories connected to MKUltra involved a scientist named Frank Olson. Olson was a biochemist working for the United States Army who had collaborated with CIA researchers on chemical warfare projects. In 1953, he attended a meeting with intelligence officials where LSD was secretly placed into his drink without his knowledge. Within hours, Olson began experiencing severe psychological distress. The powerful hallucinogenic drug caused intense paranoia and confusion. Friends and colleagues later described his behavior as increasingly unstable in the days that followed. Concerned about his mental state, CIA officials arranged for Olson to travel to New York City with a doctor who specialized in treating psychological trauma. But only days after the experiment, Olson died after falling from a hotel window. The official explanation at the time described the incident as a suicide caused by emotional instability. However, decades later, Olson's family began questioning the circumstances surrounding his death. Investigations eventually revealed that Olson had been unknowingly dosed with LSD as part of the MKUltra experiments shortly before the incident occurred. The revelation shocked the public and raised serious questions about the ethical boundaries of intelligence research during the Cold War. Olson's case was not the only troubling example connected to the program. Over the years, MKUltra researchers conducted hundreds of experiments involving drugs, psychological manipulation, and behavioral testing. Many participants were unaware they were part of a government research program. Some experiments took place in prisons, where inmates were offered reduced sentences or small payments in exchange for participating in drug studies. Others occurred in hospitals, where patients believed they were receiving normal medical treatment. The secrecy surrounding the program made it difficult to determine exactly how many people were involved, and that secrecy would later create an even bigger problem. In the early 1970s, the United States government began facing growing pressure to investigate intelligence agency activities. Public trust had been shaken by political scandals and revelations about covert operations conducted around the world. As investigations began to look deeper into intelligence programs, MKUltra slowly began to emerge from the shadows. But by the time investigators started asking questions, much of the evidence had already disappeared. In 1973, as government investigations into intelligence agencies began to intensify, the CIA made a critical decision. Many of the files connected to MKUltra were ordered destroyed. Thousands of documents detailing experiments, research notes, and operational reports were shredded in an effort to eliminate evidence of the program. As a result, historians today believe that much of what happened under MKUltra may never be fully known. Despite the destruction of records, some surviving documents eventually revealed fragments of the program's activities. In 1975, the United States Senate launched a major investigation into intelligence abuses known as the Church Committee investigations. During these hearings, lawmakers uncovered evidence that the CIA had conducted secret experiments involving drugs, psychological manipulation, and unwitting human subjects. The revelations shocked the public. Many Americans had never imagined that their own government might conduct such experiments without the knowledge or consent of the people involved. The investigations led to major reforms in the oversight of intelligence agencies. New laws and regulations were created to restrict certain types of experimentation and increase transparency within government programs. However, the mystery surrounding MKUltra remains. Because so many documents were destroyed, researchers have only been able to piece together fragments of the full story. Some historians believe the program involved far more experiments than the surviving records suggest. Others suspect that certain aspects of the research may have continued under different classified programs. Even today, MKUltra remains one of the most controversial intelligence programs ever conducted. It represents a time when Cold War fear pushed governments to explore extreme scientific and psychological methods in the name of national security. The search for mind control may never have succeeded, but the legacy of those experiments still raises difficult questions about power, secrecy, and the limits of scientific research. And some of those questions may never be fully answered. If you enjoyed learning about hidden stories from history like this one, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more secret history you probably never learned in school.